So hello everybody again. I'm Somaya Malakuti from ABB Motion Services. I've been working on the topic of digital twin for a while already, including also asset administration shell. And what we see is that, okay, there's a lot of development in the idea of asset administration shell, the specification, the open source activities, a lot of proof of concept implementations are emerging, which are really proving that this concept is working in practice. And I think it's time to think about how we can really bring it in to the real life beyond the proof of concepts demo. And that is something I call behind the scenes. So what are the challenges that we still have to pay attention to that in order to have a successful adoption of the admin shell or digital twin in practice? And I thought maybe this might be interesting to also share some insight and open some discussion about this topic. So what is a digital twin? I think if you have been long enough in this topic, you have witnessed a lot of discussion to come up with the definition of digital twin, and still there is a lot of different definitions available depending on which consortium we are looking at. But back then we were part of IIC, and there was a definition that digital twin is a digital representation of an entity which is sufficient to meet the requirements of a set of use cases. Basically, it tells the story. We want to be able to support multiple use cases using digital twin, which represents an entity. And digital twin usually consists of, depending on the use cases, we need to have different content for digital twin. It could be our operational data, it could be our ERP and yes, master data information, some tools that we are using for sizing devices, engineering devices, they have their own data that could be part of digital twin. We have different kind of model, whether it's simulation, analytics, or AI model, and also some visualization on the top for services. So basically, these are, depending on the use case, the content, and the typical characteristics are that they help to break the silos, because usually these models and data are developed in separation because of the separation of concern principle. But we want to offer an integrated access to this kind of model and data. We want to enrich the data with more semantic description and relation. We would like to establish links between information models, AI models, simulation models, because in the end they are somehow correlated to each other. We would like our digital twin to be connected to the real world entities to access the operational data, again, depending on the use case. And we want to define some security and usage policies on top of digital twins and offer some services on the top. So those are basically the typical characteristics of digital twin that are emerging and we would like to support in our offerings. Some use cases that can be enabled by digital twin, and I'm sure there's even more and more we know these use cases are emerging, like for example, combining simulation and operational data for having some online simulation for a faster defect detection is one category of use case. We can have visualization using augmented reality for inspecting the status of our devices, and then we can combine different data from operational data, install-based data, product data in this visualization. We can have integrated tools, like having the tools which are by default maybe not integrated, by offering a means of integrating these tools together, or even combining machine learning with operational data and some install-based data, for example, for a faster issue resolution. There are many, many more use cases, but it tells the story that we need to be able to access the data and models which are currently may not be integrated with each other. So the vision is that we want to have a digital twin that serves multiple use cases. So that's the reality. The left-hand side says that, okay, from the data and model silos, we want to have digital twins that then they can serve multiple use cases. So that's basically the vision. And the idea here is that if we're able to have digital twin that can serve multiple use cases, so the number of data pipelines that we have to establish to get the data and model will significantly reduce, and then we can have solutions which are easier to maintain and develop, because then we have some kind of unified model in between, and the application can use this unified model for their purposes. Otherwise, we have to have the dedicated solutions without having a kind of unified model for the applications. So that's the vision basically, and this is the vision on the paper, of course. But the challenge is that how much of that vision can be realized in reality, and what are the obstacles that we have to overcome to make sure this vision can be implemented in reality. So the reality is that we are observing, if we don't pay enough attention of how we are engineering our digital twin solution, we can easily end up to having digital twin silos as an emerging technical debt. So basically, we may move from data and model silos to digital twin silos. So this is how I depict it here. And this is mainly because the digital twin development is inherently an exploratory activity. So we should assume, or this is not even an assumption, this is the reality, that different people may still have different perception of digital twin and the value that it can create, and they have their own definition and their own way of thinking that how it should be realized. And then basically start with this idea of let's see what is a digital twin and which kind of use cases we can establish with that, how we can create value with that. So this is an exploratory nature of digital twin definition and development. And this happens that, okay, we start for each case a separate kind of implementation and design because we want to first manage the scope, and then depending on the technology, we may use admin shell, or we may develop our own proprietary digital twin and then see how it goes. And eventually, this is the nature of software. These solutions don't usually go away. They stay longer than it is planned, and then we will end up having some silos basically developed. And basically, we are defeating the purpose because we wanted to have better design and better access to the data and models, but we end up having another level of silos introduced into the system. And that means that we have to deal with the development and maintenance cost of these solutions. So this is something that we have to pay attention when we are defining digital twin. Otherwise, as I said, this may not be a sustainable solution. So what are the root causes? I have defined these layers or level of activities just for the sake of presentation here, that we have level 1, that we have data and model silos. Level 2, that we have unified API, information models and security mechanism. So basically from this data silo, we go one level higher, we try to unify things and have some unified representation of that. And then level 2, we try to define some semantic correlation across different information models, because there are by default somehow certain correlation exists, but if we don't have the level 1, then if we have the level 1, then we can have the level 2 on top to really establish links across these data models. And then we can go to level 3 and 4 by adding more complex models, simulation models, machine learning models, and even integration of different kind of models together, machine learning with simulation and so on. So those are basically some logical steps to take when we are defining digital twin. In reality, usually we start not from the level 1, we start from somewhere level 3. So it says because we want to see the value of digital twin, usually there are some nice analytics use cases or some nice simulation use cases. And we may start from the level 3 and 4, meaning that we didn't lay the foundation for a digital twin in terms of the information backend that we need to have. And then somewhere in the 3 or 4 we start, and therefore we have dedicated solution for different digital twins because the foundation is not there. So that could be one root cause of this situation. Or another root cause is that the interdisciplinary nature of digital twin with the multitude of technologies. So this is how I represent it, that we have the data sources, that we get the data from that. So this is what exists. And then we need to kind of put a layer on top to get the data in a format which is acceptable by digital twin from these data sources. And this is something that there is already one level of work here to get the right data from the right data sources, even combining data from different data sources in one digital twin model or digital twin submodel, and offering this as a reusable way to the digital twin solution that we have. Digital twin contains more than data, so we have also another category of work for defining the models, whether simulation model, machine learning model, and so on. And then we need to somehow combine these and provide the backend engine for the digital twins in terms of being able to access the backend data, to execute simulation models, machine learning models, and so on. And in the end, we need to offer APIs and services on top of that. So as it is depicted here, we have a lot of work to do in order to kind of bring the digital twin in reality. And a lot of teams and technical solution has to be combined together in order to make the final solution work. And this requires a lot of like a system thinking and collaboration among different teams in order to make things work. And of course, this is complex to establish. So how can we address digital twin silos? So we could move from these silos to a digital twin platform. So establishing a platform thinking and what it means for us in detail. So this is how we can see it. We have a digital twin platform that offers digital twins to the applications. But behind the scenes, so we have data sources or data providers, and these are the domain experts are involved there. So different domains, they own their data. They are responsible for managing their data. They can use different technology to manage their data, like a data lake, data warehouse, different databases, different systems, and so on. So they have the pure responsibility of handling their data, but they need to offer their data to the platform as a service to the digital twin platform that we have in order to make their data accessible to the digital twin. And of course, sometimes we have legacy systems that they cannot offer the data using the same format that we need in our digital twin. So we need to establish some model transformation here in between to get the data in the right format within the digital twin. So basically getting the data from backend system into the digital twins, that is a challenge that we have to make sure we provide the data to the digital twin from these backend systems. And then this is the boundary of one company, of course, that they can have their own proprietary representation of digital twins, because sometimes, okay, the asset administration shell was not available when they were developing digital twins, or they want to have flexibility in defining their own digital twins. But when it comes to the cross-company information exchange, then they need to kind of translate their model to the asset administration shell or other standards that they may emerge and offer this as a kind of asset administration shell to the rest of the board. Here, I mean, when we see a lot of work is focusing on asset administration shell, of course, and the infrastructure around it, the standard around it, open source activities, but we have less focus on the behind the scene, like how to get the data from the original sources to the digital twins and eventually to the asset administration shell. And at least we observe a lot of discussion here that people are debating what is the source of truth. Some people have the very strong statement that digital twin is the source of truth, and some says no, but in reality the source of truth is where the data is owned and managed. And those are not sometimes the digital twins, those are the real backend systems that we have. And digital twin is merely a proxy to those data. So the data remains where it is, and digital twin only should provide some access to those data on demand. And of course, sometimes for the performance reason, we may also keep a copy of data or a cache of data, making sure that we also don't run into the data inconsistency issues. And as we see, another challenge is that we have multiple levels of model transformation or data transformation in order to get the data from the original source to the target that we want to have. And this, of course, puts some performance issue on the top, because this transformation takes time to be executed and to be performed depending on the complexity of the models that we have. And usually we don't talk about that aspect because we focus on that, okay, the digital twin can help us to develop the use cases in a more kind of sustainable way. It provides access to data. These are all fine, but in reality, when we implement it, we should also look at the other aspects in terms of performance, and so that how we really get the data inside the digital twin. Of course, also establishing the data flow from the external world to the internal digital twins to the backend system is also a challenge that has to be addressed. So usually, as I said, these technical aspects should also receive attention, and we provide some guidelines on how we can support in these activities in order to facilitate and accelerate the adoption of asset administration shell in reality. So an example that how we could do this kind of transformation and backend connectivity. This is an example of our own kind of proprietary digital twin, and I use it in purpose because I want to show how we go to the asset administration shell from this digital twin. That we have a digital twin consists of different kind of models. This could be a selection model when we select a device, so we have set of properties for that device. Then engineering model, that we have a set of engineering parameters for the device. Then we have install base model, that we keep the install base information of device, and operational model, that we keep the operational parameter of device. And then we have the notion of a shadow model. So shadow model is a model that doesn't have the real content. So it's just a shadow of the backend system where the content is coming from. And this shadow, we need to provide some means of connecting this shadow model to the backend data that we want to get the data from. And this is happening by providing some endpoint specification of the backend system and some mapping of this specification to the model that we have here, because sometimes these endpoints don't offer the exact same data model that we need to have here. And then how this endpoint and mapping specification look like. So this is an example of an endpoint specification that we can get the device information from a specific address using the serial number of the device. And this endpoint returns a set of properties as a response, like a serial number, customer name, and also we can have another endpoint that we can get the site information of a device that is installed. So this is the left-hand side of the story, and the right-hand side is the model that we have in our digital twin, and we should provide the mapping between this endpoint specification and this kind of model that we have. And this mapping is also provided for each endpoint, saying that how we can map this, for example, in the input request, we have serial number param, which is the serial number that we have to send to this endpoint, and here we define that this parameter is mapped to the serial number in our model that we have. So basically, we provide a one-to-one mapping between the properties of the model and the properties of endpoint specification to let the system know that how these things has to be mapped together. And by this means, we can also be very much extensible with new kind of backend system, because to support each new backend system, we only need to provide the endpoint specification of that backend system and also mapping of that endpoint to the digital twin models that we have. So in this way, you can just add this specification and somehow have this plug and play of new backend system to our system, to our digital twin solution. So the next step would be that until now we have shown that, okay, how we can get the backend data to the digital twin that we have and the necessary model transformation that was needed for that. But the next step would be that how we can map the digital twin that we have to asset administration shell and how we can do the model transformation at this level as well. Again, here we need to have another step of model transformation that I very abstractly show in this picture, that we have our system, which has its own proprietary digital twin, and we need to provide some mapping description, because we have to define how our proprietary digital twin can be mapped to the asset administration shell. So we define this mapping description, and there is a mapping interpreter, which is during the runtime interprets this mapping and tries to generate the admin shell models on the fly. And of course, we should offer some admin shell APIs in order to let the other system interact with our admin shell. So this mapping model builder basically looks like this again, that we have a set of rules how to map our proprietary digital twins to the admin shell. Here that we say each property of our proprietary digital twin can be mapped to a property of a submodel. And here is an example that if we have a submodel like operational model, the submodel ID is drive submodel operational, and the property link is that the frequency, the property named frequency in this submodel is mapped to the output frequency in our proprietary digital twin. Or the property name power in our submodel is mapped to the output power in our proprietary digital twin. Basically, in this way, we also don't copy data into the admin shell. We say, okay, the data should remain in the original source, but we provide somehow a new view on the data based on these rules. So it's basically defining a new view on the existing kind of digital twins, which may again not include the data remains where it is in the original system. In this case, we have this multiple level of model transformation in order to get the data from backend system to our digital twin in the proprietary format, and also from our digital twin to the admission as a kind of final outgoing format. Just to summarize the challenges that we observe is that we may move from the data silos to digital twin silos if first there is no wider concept of what a digital twin is, and we are establishing this understanding more and more, but still there is a way to go there. And also if we don't start digital twin development from the level 1 when we want to have unified APIs, information model, and access rights. And this is something that we in the platform industry are working on, that to establish asset administration shell as this unified information model and APIs, and this is very crucial, otherwise we may end up again to have this silo development of digital twins. Of course, having a platform-based approach is also necessary, because otherwise each solution has to be developed individually. Another topic is that in realizing digital twins, there is always multiple levels of information access, especially in the brownfield scenarios. And in these cases, we should also be kind of honest assessment of performance of our solution, and to see how much it pays off actually to have all these levels of model transformation, whereas without also comparing to the case that we don't have digital twins. So that's also, I think, is important to have this kind of assessment. And the final point is that if we offer some generic design patterns, how to integrate AES with the backend system, I think this will also accelerate the adoption of admission in practice. So these are just some thoughts. Maybe it's valuable to think about it, and we have several publications on that. And if you have any question, I will be happy to answer.